Welcome to KnowledgeNest. I'm your host. This is a place where wisdom takes flight. We all have that inner child within us who's curious about everything. Why is the sky blue? Why do birds fly? Why do we need to learn? Because learning is like a superpower that lets you explore the world around you and understand how things work. And when you understand things, you become wise. And wisdom is the superpower that all of us inner children are seeking. So sit back, open your mind, and get ready to learn. You can learn about anything and everything. Just ask your questions, and we'll find the answers together. This is an open book, a world of knowledge waiting for you to discover it. So spread your wings and fly high, little knowledge seeker, because here in KnowledgeNest we believe that everyone can be wise. As the sage tapped the ground, Ethan saw an old farmer working diligently in his field. Despite his age, the wrinkles on his face mirroring the furrows in the soil, he toiled under the sun, planting seeds with unwavering care. When the sage removed his staff, the vision vanished, leaving behind a single seedling in Ethan's hand. "Plant your roots in purpose, child," the sage's voice echoed. "Just as the farmer finds joy in nurturing his crops, find your purpose and tend to it daily. It will grow, providing sustenance and satisfaction for your soul." Ethan nodded, understanding dawning on him like the sunrise. Purpose was the seed from which happiness could grow. The sage, with a knowing smile, gestured for Ethan to follow him. They walked deeper into the mountain, the air growing cooler as they ascended. Soon they reached a plateau where a majestic oak stood tall and proud. Its branches, gnarled and strong, reached towards the sky, sheltering a family of deer who grazed peacefully beneath its shade. "Look, master," Ethan breathed, realizing what he had seen. "Is this the second lesson?" "Indeed," the sage replied. "This oak has grown strong because it shared its shade, offering rest to those who needed it. Likewise, find joy in sharing your gifts with others. In doing so, your happiness will grow stronger, able to weather any storm." Ethan pondered these words, realizing that helping others was not just a duty, but a way to water the garden of his happiness. They continued their ascent until they reached a place where towering cliffs seemed to pierce the heavens. Below them, the clouds swirled and shifted like cotton candy in a vast blue bowl. As Ethan gazed at the clouds, he saw shapes that danced in the sky, a bird in flight, a fish leaping from the sea, and a rabbit playing among the clouds. When he turned to the sage, he saw amusement dancing in his eyes. The third lesson appeared, etched against the canvas of the sky. "What do you see, Ethan?" the sage asked, his voice soft yet clear. "I see a bird, a fish, and a rabbit," Ethan responded, puzzled by the sage's question. "And what does it mean?" The sage, with a twinkle in his eye, said, "Happiness is like the clouds, ever-changing, constantly moving. Do not chase after it, but learn to find joy in the journey, in the simple moments of each day. Be like the bird, soaring high with dreams. Be like the fish, swimming deep with determination. And be like the rabbit, hopping light, always ready to explore new beginnings." Ethan sat quietly, letting the weight of the sage's words settle within him. Purpose, sharing, and embracing the journey. These were the three pillars of happiness. But as he looked up at the sage, he saw a hint of sadness in his usually serene eyes. "Is there no greater secret to happiness, master?" he asked, sensing the depth of wisdom that still lay hidden. The sage sighed, his gaze distant, as if peering into the depths of time. "There is one more lesson, Ethan, and it lies beyond the horizon. You must seek it on your own." With that, the visions faded away and the sage fell silent, leaving Ethan to ponder the meaning of their meeting. He realized that the true final lesson was to keep seeking, to never stop nurturing the garden of his happiness. As he began his descent, he took with him not just the lessons, but the spirit of the mountain sage, whose silence had spoken volumes about the art of finding happiness in a world that often seemed intent on obscuring it. And so, armed with the wisdom of the mountains, Ethan returned to the city ready to plant the seeds of purpose, water them with acts of kindness, and share the fruits of his happiness with all who crossed his path. Hello, my dear friends. Today we begin our journey through the parables of peace. In the first lesson, Ethan, a young man, was traveling through a village. As he walked, He noticed a farmer in a field. He asked the farmer, "Why is your field so barren? It looks like nothing will grow here." The farmer looked up from his work and replied, "Because I only know how to take. I take water from the river, but I never give back. I take sunlight and rain, yet I never show gratitude. And now my field is empty." Ethan thought about what the farmer had said. He realized that he too often complained about not having enough of what he wanted, so he decided to try something different. The next day, Ethan returned to the field. He took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and whispered a silent thanks to all that he could feel in his body: the sunlight on his skin, the rain on his face, and the air in his lungs. When he opened his eyes, he saw that the field was no longer barren. It was filled with beautiful flowers, ripe vegetables, and juicy fruits. Overjoyed, Ethan ran to the village to share his discovery. On the way, he met the same farmer who was carrying a basket of fruits to the market. Ethan exclaimed, "Look at what a difference a day makes. Yesterday your field was empty, and today it is overflowing with such abundance." The farmer was astonished. He had been working hard since morning, but he had not noticed any change. He asked Ethan, "What did you do?" Ethan explained how he expressed his gratitude for the natural world. The farmer realized that he had been taking, but never giving thanks. He thanked Ethan for showing him a better way. They both continued on their way, each lost in thought. Soon, the farmer reached the market and began selling his fruits. People from the village gathered around his stall, and he shared Ethan's story with them. At first, they didn't believe him, but when they saw the quality of the fruits and vegetables, they were amazed. The farmer told them, "When we appreciate and give thanks for what we have, our lives become more joyful and abundant." The townspeople realized that they too had been focusing on what they lacked and forgetting to be grateful for the blessings in their lives. The sage said, "When you count what you lack, your field stays empty. But when you give thanks for what you already have, joy blossoms effortlessly." So my dear friends, let us begin this journey with open hearts and a deep sense of gratitude. Let us appreciate the beauty that surrounds us and give thanks for the abundance that flows from nature. May these parables guide us toward a life of peace, joy, and interconnectedness with all living beings. Today's quote is from a book called The 88 Keys of the Heart. It's Lesson 2. Simplicity is the soil. The vision shifted to a man carrying heavy stones. He was burdened by his load, and as he struggled along, the stones began to fall from his arms and from his waist, and they fell into the mud. Now he could walk freely across the green meadow. The sage then said, "Happiness is not found in having more, but in needing less. A cluttered heart has no room for joy." We're gonna unpack that today. We've all heard the saying, less is more. And when it comes to our stuff, I think we get that. You know, we don't need 17 spatulas. We don't need 4 waffle irons. And one of my personal favorites, we do not need 5 garbage disposals. My wife and I have a standing rule. If it breaks, we replace it with something better. So if you come to my house and you see a broken waffle iron or a spatula, I will say, don't worry, it's an upgrade. But in all seriousness, we have way too much stuff. But I think what this saying and this lesson really means is that we have to simplify our lives. We have to get rid of the stuff that we don't need, so that we can make room for what we do need. Stuff is just stuff, right? But life can be hard. Let's look at the stones that this man was carrying. They were symbols of greed and envy and endless wants. These are heavy burdens to carry. And when we hold on to these things, we become burdened. We become stressed. We are not happy. I love the simplicity of this lesson. The language is so simple, but the lesson itself is profound. And I want to share 2 applications with you today. Number 1, when we hold on to things that we don't need, we rob ourselves of the ability to experience joy in the present moment. The Greek philosopher Epicurus said it this way: poverty is not being poor, but wanting more. So do you realize that right now in this very moment, if you want more, if you're greedy, if you're envious, you are poor. You are lacking. You may have everything you need, but if your heart is cluttered, if your heart is burdened, you will not be joyful. So here's the second application. When we simplify our lives, When we get rid of the stuff that we don't need, we make room for what we do need, like joy, like happiness, like peace. When we simplify, when we let go of those extra things, we open up our lives, we open up our hearts, our spirit, our mind to the abundance of the blessings that are already there. So let's take some time today to get rid of the stuff that we don't need so that we can make room for the stuff that we do. Let's take some time to simplify our lives. Let's take some time to find the joy that's already there. Now let's go to lesson 3. Once upon a time in a village, there was a man named Ethan. One day he was walking through the fields when he saw a beautiful stream of water flowing through the village. He saw many villagers coming to the stream. They would dip their hands in the water and touch it to their foreheads and faces. And as they did, their faces, which were filled with pain and sorrow, would slowly transform into smiles. Ethan was puzzled. He couldn't understand why touching water could make them so happy. So he walked up to an old woman who was standing by the stream and asked her, "Excuse me, but why are you touching this water to your head?" The woman turned to him and said, "This water has a magical quality. It washes away all our pain and sadness." Ethan didn't believe her, but he decided to try it for himself. He dipped his hand in the stream and splashed the water on his face. And to his surprise, he felt a sense of calmness and happiness wash over him. Just then, a wise man named Sage approached them. He saw Ethan and asked him, "What are you doing here?" Ethan explained what he had seen and what had happened to him. The sage smiled and said, "This is no ordinary stream. Its water flows directly from the source of all compassion and kindness. When you pour kindness into others, your own soul drinks from the same stream." Ethan still didn't understand, so the sage took him to another part of the village. They saw a young girl pouring water from a pot onto a small plant. "Why are you watering that plant?" Ethan asked. "I'm giving it water so it can grow," the girl replied. "But it's already so tall and strong. Why do you need to water it?" The girl looked at Ethan and said, "When I take care of this plant and make it grow, it makes me feel good about myself. I feel useful and happy. And when you make others feel good, you make yourself feel good too." Ethan thought about what the girl had said. He realized that when he helped others, he felt a sense of purpose and joy. Helping others wasn't just about making them feel good. It was also about making himself feel good. But he still didn't understand why touching the water made the villagers so happy. The sage noticed that Ethan was still confused, so he explained, "When you pour kindness into others, your own soul drinks from the same stream. Happiness grows where compassion flows." Ethan finally understood. The water from the stream was a symbol of kindness and compassion. When he touched the water, he was reminded to be kind and compassionate towards others. And when he did, he felt good about himself. The water didn't have any magical powers. It was just a reminder for him to be kind. And kindness, he realized, was the most powerful force in the world. As we know, our last lesson was about compassion. We learned that compassion is not just a feeling, it's an energy that connects us all. And when we feel it, we are filled with warmth and kindness. But sometimes, friends, we meet people who make us feel bad. They say or do things that hurt us. And if we hold on to that hurt, it can make us feel very, very sad. So what should we do? The Buddha taught us a wonderful way to deal with this. He said, "Forgiveness is the best revenge." When we forgive someone, we set ourselves free from anger and resentment. Do you want to hear a story about forgiveness? Once upon a time, Ethan was walking through the forest. Suddenly, he heard some chains dragging. He stopped to take a look. Underneath a big tree, he saw two men chained together. Both were very angry, and both were suffering. The first man shouted, "Oh, why did I have to forgive him? I don't want to forgive him." But the second man said, "If I could only forgive, the chains would fall away, and I would be free." Then Ethan heard a voice from above. The trees whispered, "Only when you forgive each other will the chains melt. Only then will you be free." Ethan looked up and saw a beautiful white dove sitting on a tree branch. Then another dove flew down and landed on the ground in front of him. In its beak, it held a small key. The dove said, "Here is the key to your freedom. Go on, set each other free." The first man looked at the key and then back at the second man. He realized that forgiveness was the key that would unlock his own freedom. So he took the key, and as he did, the chains holding the second man fell to the ground. At that moment, the sky became clear and a bright light shone down from above. The light filled Ethan with happiness and peace. Then the three of them, including the doves, walked out of the forest together. Ethan understood that holding on to anger is like holding a burning coal. You only end up burning yourself. But forgiveness releases you, and happiness enters like sunlight through an open window. This is the story of forgiveness, friends. When we forgive, we set ourselves free. Now I would like to ask you, when was the last time you forgave someone? Forgiving someone is not easy. It takes strength and courage, but the peace and joy we feel afterwards is so worth it. All right, that's it for today's lesson. Remember, always make time for kindness. I love you. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling lake, there lived a young man named Ethan. Now Ethan was not your ordinary young man. He had dreams that reached far beyond the horizon, dreams that made his heart race and his spirit soar. Every night before sleep, he would confide his dreams to the stars, whispering his hopes and fears into the velvet darkness. One night, as Ethan was pouring out his heart to the cosmos, a shooting star streaked across the sky, leaving a trail of sparkling light in its wake. And as it vanished from sight, a gentle voice echoed in Ethan's mind. "I heard your call, young one. For your dedication and hard work, I will grant you a wish. Ask and you shall receive." With a heart full of hope, Ethan closed his eyes and made his wish. "Oh, wise celestial being, I wish to find my purpose in life. I wish to know why I'm here and what I'm meant to do." The next morning, Ethan awoke with a start. Had it all been a dream? Was finding his purpose just a fanciful notion? Confused and somewhat disappointed, he decided to visit the village sage, a woman renowned for her wisdom and insight. As Ethan sat down, the sage looked at him with knowing eyes and said, "Last night you sought the stars for answers, didn't you?" Ethan, taken aback, nodded slowly. The sage continued, "The stars don't hold all the answers, but they can guide you if you know where to look." She then led Ethan to a vast golden field, the sun shining brightly overhead. "Look around you, Ethan," she said softly. "What do you see?" Puzzled, Ethan looked around. All he saw was a field of ripe grain, bowing gracefully under the weight of their heavy heads. The sage then asked, "What do you think this field represents?" Realization dawned on Ethan's face. "It's my life," he whispered. "All these years I've been searching for meaning, for purpose, but I've been so focused on myself that I haven't seen what's right in front of me. This field, these grains, they represent the abundance of my life. The sun, the rain, the soil, all have contributed to this harvest. Just as these crops need tending, so did my life. I've worked hard, yes, but I haven't shared the fruits of my labor. I've been selfish, hoarding it all for myself." The sage placed a hand on his shoulder. "A life lived only for yourself ends in emptiness, Ethan. But when you use your talents to serve something greater, family, community, humanity, then happiness becomes your harvest." As she spoke, Ethan felt a weight lift from his chest, a lightness he'd never known before. He finally understood that his purpose wasn't about him. It was about sharing his gifts with the world. Tears welled in Ethan's eyes. For the first time, he felt a weight lifting from his heart. He bowed to the mountain sage. "Master, I came searching for happiness in the peaks, but you've shown me it was always within me." The sage touched his shoulder with kindness and said, "Child, happiness is not a place you climb to. It is a path you walk each day. A path you walk each day with gratitude, simplicity, kindness, forgiveness, and purpose. Walk this path, and happiness will walk with you." Ethan looked up, confused. "But how do I walk this path? How can I be grateful, kind, forgiving, and have purpose?" The mountain sage smiled and said, "You already do, Ethan. You walked this path when you helped the villagers. You walked this path when you forgave your brother. You walked this path when you listened to your heart. You are walking this path right now." Then, "But that was just a small part of the path. How can I be happy?" The sage asked, "When you look at the mountains, do you see just the peak?" No, master. The mountain is also the valleys and the slopes and the rivers that flow around them. Then understand, child, that happiness is like the mountains. It is the big and the small, the good and the bad, the easy and the difficult. It is all the moments, big and small, that make up your life. When you embrace all of it with an open heart, you will find happiness. Tears welled up in Ethan's eyes as he understood. Happiness wasn't about reaching a certain place or state. It was about embracing the journey. As Ethan descended the mountain, the wind carried the sage's final words. Happiness is not a destination. It is the way you choose to travel. With newfound clarity and a lighter heart, Ethan began his journey down the mountain, ready to embrace the path of happiness, one step at a time. Thanks for watching Knowledge Nest. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Stay connected for more life-changing lessons. See you in the next story.